Nazanin is the kind of woman who takes adversity and kicks it in the ass. Here's her story. She was born in Iran in 1979. Her father was jailed and tortured during the Iranian Revolution, and he nearly died. Now, when Nazanin was a year old, her family escaped to Europe and then came to Canada. Now, as a teenager, she joined the Royal Canadian Air Cadets, got her pilot's license, and eventually graduated from the University of British Columbia with a double major degree, international relations and political science. Now, Nazanin supported herself working as a model, and she volunteered with the Red Cross, talking to kids about landmines, war, poverty. But she wanted a bigger platform, so in 2003, using her model experience, she entered the Miss Canada contest, and she won. And then she placed second in the Miss World competition.
First runner-up is Miss Canada.
Now, fast forward to 2005. Nazanin heard about a 17-year-old girl in Iran with the same name who was facing execution. The girl had confessed to killing a man who had tried to rape her. Nazanin started an international campaign to save this girl's life.
This is not just a case of an Iranian woman. This is a case of humanity.
2 years and 350,000 signatures later, the girl was released. That case inspired Nazanin to go bigger. She founded a group called Stop Child Executions to save minors in Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nazanin Afshinjam. I mean, Miss Canada, and then when you came in second to Miss World, you would think that everybody in Canada and Iran would be happy for you, but it didn't really play that way, did it?
I'd say 99% of people were happy, both proud from Canada and in Iran, but there was the odd few that sent the hate message, and could be a bit scary.
What was it based on? Why were they mad?
Well, there were some that were mad because I was in a competition that featured us in bikinis on a beach, and then there was others that just didn't like the fact that I was very outspoken on women's rights issues and human rights issues around the world, including Iran.
Well, and very specifically about Iran as well, right? You know, I mean, this thing that I guess when it came to our attention, the idea of you helping to stop child executions, and I want to know how the first one happened. Like, how did you first hear about it?
You mean about the case of Nazanin?
Yeah, well, when you decided.
Okay, well, actually a gentleman from Paris, a complete stranger, first heard about the story of this young girl in Iran who was the victim of attempted rape when she was in a park with her 15-year-old niece. 3 men attacked her, tried to rape them, and out of self-defense, she stabbed one of these men and he died. So she was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. Then he went online to learn more about that Nazanin. And then by accident, he came on my website and told me the story, and I was outraged, so I said, let me try to do something about this.
You see this in the States all the time when they organize an execution. And it's almost like there's this circus that rolls into town. You have this one side here, there's this other side, these pre-made placards, there's an event, CNN shows up, Fox shows up, they do it, the person gets executed, there's a candle, they move on to the next execution. And because it's very regimented in America when this happens, I wondered in Iran, it's not the same thing. They don't have the same sort of way of doing this. So how do you organize this kind of protest there?
It's very different. I mean, even the judicial process in Iran is very different from here. If a judge is not feeling well that day and just decides to give a sentence, then that's what goes. Same with the execution methods. It's not written in form how it takes place. It can be from cranes in public to executions within the prison walls. We don't always know about it. But when we do hear about a specific case, what we do is we try to use every means of campaigning and rallying that we can. We hold speeches, we contact our local members of parliament, national members of parliament, international, human rights groups. We get the civil society to do simple things like writing signing up on petitions or writing directly to the government officials in these countries that do offend, and it just comes from all sides.
But you're here when you do it, right?
I'm here.
And so what do you do, sit in the phone all day?
It works out that way, on the phone, on the computer, contacting different people that I've met throughout the years, and whether it's our local, or well, just our national government, and them condemning Iran for their practices, or getting the EU to do something, or the UN. The UN has been very helpful in these cases.
Now, in this particular case, with the other Nazanin, you won. She was free, but then she still had to pay money. Restitution money?
Well, she was required to pay something that's called blood money because the judges, the 3 of the judges out of the 5 said that she still needs to pay blood money because she used excessive force while trying to defend herself. So can you imagine, you're this girl and alone in a park and there's these men after you, you have a knife, you use it, and then you're still required to pay money to the victim. They wanted about $35,000 US, and she comes from an extremely poor family. We were not willing to pay this blood money because we don't agree with this concept of putting a value to a life. So what we did was we raised bail money, about $45,000 online, and that in the process has allowed her to be free from prison, and her lawyers are appealing the blood money amount. But in any case, she'll be free. Even if they want her to pay, it'll come out of the bail money.
The idea of blood money and placing value on a human life, what's so interesting about Iran is that a man died in her case.
Yeah.
Isn't there a different value placed on the death of a male as opposed to a woman, like almost half?
Yeah, under Sharia law, which is Islamic-based law that the Iranian Penal Code uses, it says that a life of a woman is worth half that of a man. So if you get into a car accident, let's say, and you kill a man, you'll probably have to pay double that you would a woman.
And then you get outspoken about it, and then over there you take heat.
Yes.
A lot of it. You get death threats. You still
But
get a lot of it.
let's make the distinction between the people and the government, though.
Sure.
The
This is
people
what I wonder.
agree.
You left Iran. You're born in '79, right? The same year as the revolution, and then you went away, and then you came over here to Canada when you were very young. There was this whole group of young Iranians who were born in '79 and after, and I wonder what the diaspora is like. I wonder what those group of expats, when it comes to Iran, because it's in the press all the time, and with good reason it's in the press. I wonder what that expat group feels and what the next step is for you.
Well, I mean, in general, the people who have left, some of them want to be complacent and don't want to think about what goes on back home. And then there's the fervent few who want action and want to see freedom to their country of birth, just like those in Iran. There is quite a bit of fragmentation, though. But in general, I think they want change.
You know, parents and kids, the generation gap. What's it like with the group of Iranians who had to leave?
Well, the older generation, they still bicker about the past, whether it should have stayed under the Shah, whether this revolution was progressive in any shape or form. It hasn't. And then there's the fresh young people who are not caught up in this political world, and they don't want this division. They want to unite, and they want to unite on one front, which is freedom, democracy, the separation from religion and state, and just a general, rule of law for the people.
I suppose international pressure politicians can play a part. Haven't you been asked to run for like all the parties here? The 3 major ones at least?
I wouldn't say all of them, but definitely there's been a few approaches.
From different parties too?
Yeah, from the Liberals and the Conservatives.
And you have decided not to run yet, or not to run at all?
Right now, working on human rights, I think it wouldn't be the right approach. It might alienate me from the general population. That might help in these human rights cases and these campaigns. Now, if I knew in the future that it would actually help the most amount of people, because I have one mission in this life, and that's to help those most vulnerable in the world. And if that leads me into helping more people, then I'll consider it. But at this point, I don't see it.
How many, you must get, with the success of the other Nazanin, you must receive an inordinate amount of requests to do this as well and continue to fight on behalf of these kids. They're minors who are facing execution in Iran and around the world. Is it an overloaded plate?
It is. There's about 90 minors on death row right now. We get emails from the families, from the lawyers.